chemistry unit, chapter 7, pH scale, part 2. So pH also plays a role in consumer products. So the pH of things like skin creams and soaps and shampoos, they tend to be close to neutral so that they're not harmful for people. Another thing that you might see on some products is this word pH balanced. So pH balanced doesn't necessarily mean that the substance is has a neutral pH. Skincare products that say they are pH balanced are slightly acidic, and the reason for this is because your skin is slightly acidic, and that is to help kill bacteria on your face and on your hands. So products that claim to be pH balanced just means that they match the pH of the skin so that they're not changing the pH of your natural skin. Cleaners are very high in hydroxide ions, so that's why sometimes you see HHPS symbols on these products, because they can be irritating to skin. So things that have a very high pH or a very low pH that are used in household chemicals, they would be labeled with HHPS symbols. So things that are very corrosive, that would have a high pH level, you might see the symbol for like the one where it looks like a skeleton of a hand, which would indicate that that substance, if it gets on your skin, can be irritating. Another place where pH plays an important role is if anyone has a swimming pool or a jacuzzi, or even if you have a saltwater fish tank. So those are environments where the pH has to be carefully monitored because of the chemicals that are used to maintain those things. So if you have a pool, maybe your parents check the pH of the pool. So there's chemicals in the pool that make it safe for swimming. So things like chlorine are added, there's algicides that are added, and all of these chemicals tend to work at a certain pH. So the pH of the pool where the pool is working optimally is a pH slightly higher than neutral, so 7.2 to 7.8. So in between this range, that's where the chemicals are working their best. So if after a rainfall, the pH can go lower because of the acid rain, if a person checks their pH level of their pool and it's lower, then that means it's slightly acidic. Now, when it's slightly acidic, what happens is if a person is swimming, that's going to be irritating to the eyes. The opposite can happen if the pH goes above 7.8, so now we're more on the basic side, then things can happen in the pool, like the chlorine is not effective, so that makes the water cloudy. It can also irritate the eyes. So there are special chemicals that an owner will add in order to balance the pH. So if the pH needs to be lowered, so let's say the pH is too high, then the opposite is added. So you want to add an acid. So there's hydrochloric acid that can be added to lower the pH. Similarly, if after a rainfall the pH is too low and the owner wants to raise the pH, then they're going to add a base. So a good base to add would be sodium carbonate. One thing I want to also mention is that when the pool becomes too acidic, because acids naturally react with metals, it's also bad for the components of the pool. So things like the pump or any of the tubing, anything that has metal on it, it's going to start to corrode. So that's why it's important to ensure that the pool water is not on the acidic side. So that concludes our lesson on pH. Please try the assigned textbook questions.